I never believed in cursed places. That sort of thing always felt like local superstition, the kind of story you tell kids so they don't wander off where they shouldn't. But what happened to me and my friends in Mexico has left me with no other explanation. I'm writing this now because I don't sleep anymore. I don't dream, not in the normal sense anyway. When I close my eyes, I hear the cave breathing. Sometimes I swear I can smell that damp limestone and the strange copper tang of blood, even though I haven't been near that place in over a year. This all started when I was living in Merida, Yucatan, working on a research project about cenotes, those deep water-filled sinkholes the Mayans considered sacred. My two closest friends, Luis and Mateo, were both amateur urban explorers, the type of guys who'd climb abandoned hotels, sneak into old mines, and chase thrills wherever they could. They dragged me into their antics more often than I care to admit. One night over beers, Luis told us he'd heard about a hidden cenote from a local fisherman near the Gulf Coast. Not one of the tourist-friendly ones with clear blue water and ladders leading down. This one, he said, wasn't even on maps. The locals called it La Boca Negra, the Black Mouth. The name alone should have been enough to warn us off, but Luis was grinning ear to ear, saying it was untouched, a raw adventure. He swore there were caves down there no one had ever charted. Mateo, as usual, jumped on board immediately. And me? I was too drunk to say no. We set out a week later with gear we cobbled together. Helmets, ropes, climbing harnesses, waterproof flashlights, and a GoPro strapped to my chest. Luis had managed to borrow scuba equipment from a cousin, just in case there was water down there. Finding La Boca Negra was harder than we thought. We drove for hours through narrow dirt roads, then hiked for what felt like forever under suffocating jungle heat until we reached a clearing. And there it was, a gaping hole in the limestone, maybe 30 feet across, ringed with twisted roots and vines like teeth curling into a mouth. Standing at the edge made my stomach drop. It was just blackness, a vertical shaft leading down into God knows what. Holy shit, Mateo whispered. It really does look like a mouth. Luis just laughed. Then let's go feed it. He always had a way of brushing off the ominous. We set anchors and began rappelling down. The shaft walls were slick with moisture, covered in strange moss that gave off a faint phosphorescent glow. It wasn't much, but it made the descent surreal, like drifting into some otherworldly throat. It took nearly 20 minutes to reach the bottom. Our lights flickered across jagged limestone and narrow passageways branching in every direction. The air was thick and wet, each breath tasting of minerals and rot. I remember feeling this weird vibration under my boots. Not an earthquake, but like the stone itself was humming. I asked if the others felt it, but Luis just shrugged. Mateo said it was probably water moving deeper underground. We chose one of the wider tunnels and pressed forward. At first, it was just typical caving, ducking under low ceilings, squeezing through tight spaces, crawling on hands and knees. Our voices echoed strangely, bouncing back at us in distorted ways. At one point, I thought I heard a fourth voice, whispering behind us, but when I spun around, there was nothing but darkness. Probably just the echo, I muttered, though my chest felt tight. Then we reached the chamber. It opened suddenly, a space so vast our lights barely reached the ceiling. Water pooled black at the bottom, still as glass. Stalactites hung like jagged teeth, dripping slow rhythmic drops that echoed endlessly. But what made my blood run cold was the walls. They weren't just stone, they were carved. Rows upon rows of faces crudely etched into the limestone. Mouths open in silent screams, hundreds of them. What the fuck? Mateo whispered. Luis, ever the skeptic, laughed nervously. Mayan art, sacrificial site maybe. But I studied archaeology and I knew enough to tell you this wasn't Mayan. The proportions were wrong. The style was crude, almost desperate, like whoever carved them was doing it in the dark, rushing, panicked. That's when the water rippled. We all froze. It wasn't from a drop. It was as if something had stirred just beneath the surface. Mateo shined his light into it, and for a split second, I thought I saw something pale just under the waterline. Not a fish. Not human either. Long fingers curling back into the depths. Did you? I started, but Luis cut me off. Let's keep moving. This is just a cenote, nothing more. His voice cracked, though. We decided to skirt the pool and follow a passage leading deeper. That's when the air got colder. Not just a little. Our breath started misting in the beam of our lamps, and that humming in the stone grew louder. like a heartbeat thrumming through the cave walls. My GoPro recorded the whole thing. At one point, when we played it back later, you can hear something under the humming, a voice whispering in Spanish. The same phrase over and over, no regresen. Don't come back. I didn't hear it in the moment, but I felt it. We crawled deeper until we reached another chamber, smaller, tighter. In the center was a stone altar, slick with what looked like dried black stains. Above it, carved into the ceiling, was a massive spiral symbol. Luis muttered something about it being an ancient ritual site. Mateo swore under his breath. I just wanted to leave. And then we heard it, a splash from the chamber behind us, followed by wet, dragging sounds, like something pulling itself onto stone. Run, I whispered. We scrambled through the passage, helmets cracking against stone, hands bleeding as we clawed forward. Behind us, the sound grew louder, slaps of wet flesh against rock, a rattling breath echoing through the tunnels. Mateo screamed. I turned just in time to see his light vanish, snuffed out as something yanked him backward into the dark. His scream cut off instantly. Mateo! Luis shouted, but I grabbed his arm. No, don't. And then we saw it, for just a heartbeat, as our lights swung wildly. A pale figure crawling on all fours, its body too long, joints bent wrong, face stretched into a hollow grin. Its skin glistened like wet limestone, eyes black as the pool. It was dragging Mateo into the dark, his body limp. I don't remember how we got out. It's a blur of screaming, scrambling, Luis shoving me forward, me climbing until my hands felt raw. That humming in the stone turned deafening, almost like the whole cave was chanting. My chest felt like it was going to explode. Somehow we reached the surface. Luis collapsed on the jungle floor, sobbing. I tore off my helmet and vomited. We never found Mateo. We told the police, but they just shook their heads. Said the cenotes were dangerous, people drowned all the time. When we tried to take them back to La Boca Negra, we couldn't find it. The clearing was there, but the hole was gone. Solid limestone, no sign of any shaft. It's been a year. Luis doesn't talk to me anymore. He moved inland, won't go near the coast. I can't blame him. But here's the thing that keeps me awake. Last week, I got an email from an unknown sender. No subject line, no message body, just a video attachment. It was footage from my GoPro, the part where Mateo got dragged away. Only this time, the video didn't cut out. It showed him being pulled into the pool, sinking, struggling, bubbles streaming from his mouth. And then he stopped fighting. His eyes opened. He looked directly into the camera, and he smiled. The file ended there. I deleted it immediately, but it doesn't matter. Every night since, I hear dripping water in my apartment. My walls hum, and when I close my eyes, I see Mateo's face in the dark, grinning, whispering the same words over and over. Don't come back. I've been a cave diver for 12 years. I've pulled people out alive, I've pulled bodies out cold, and sometimes I've come up with nothing but empty gear tangled in stone. People don't realize how many bodies are left down there. Caves don't give them back unless they want to. That's why I should have known better than to take the call. It was last spring, out near Kentucky, when I got word about a missing man, Ethan Graves, 34 years old, amateur spelunker, last seen entering a cave system known as Dead Man's Crawl. That name wasn't an exaggeration. 2 had died there in the past decade. Still, people kept going in. Some thrill seekers, some idiots, some who just wanted bragging rights. Ethan had gone in alone. Big mistake. His girlfriend reported him missing after 3 days. By the time I got the call, local authorities had already given up hope. My job wasn't to rescue anymore. It was recovery. I loaded my gear into my truck: dry suit, rebreather, lights, spare tanks, safety line, and a waterproof camera rig. When I arrived at the site, the place was deserted except for the sheriff and Ethan's girlfriend. She was sitting in the dirt, rocking back and forth, whispering, "Don't let him stay in there, please, please." Her eyes were bloodshot, her lips cracked. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. The sheriff just muttered, "You don't have to do this, son," but I did. I don't know why. Something about the way the wind howled at the cave mouth, like it was waiting, like it knew I'd say yes. Dead Man's Crawl isn't wide. It starts with a low squeeze, barely enough room to wriggle through on your stomach, before dropping into a series of flooded passages. The water's black, silt thick enough to blind you in seconds. A place like that, once you're in, there's no fast way out. I clipped my safety line, checked my air, and slid in. The first hour was textbook. Narrow tunnels, cold water biting at my skin. The soft hiss of my regulator the only sound. My lights carved pale beams through the dark, illuminating stone smoothed by centuries. Then I found the rope. A climbing rope, wedged into a crack, dangling into one of the deeper passages. Not frayed, not aged. Fresh. Ethan's, no doubt. I followed it down. The passage widened into a chamber half flooded with water. My light swept across the walls, and that's when I saw the carvings. At first I thought they were natural striations, but no, these were deliberate. Symbols etched deep, spirals and jagged lines intersecting in patterns I didn't recognize. And between them, names. Dozens of names. Some old letters half eroded, others fresh, scratched as if by fingernails. My stomach dropped when I saw mine. Clear as day, carved into the stone. Daniel Cole. My name. I froze, regulator hissing, bubbles sliding past my face. My chest tightened. This wasn't possible. I hadn't told anyone I was coming here. Not even the sheriff knew my full name. I tried to shake it off. Stress, exhaustion, pareidolia. People see patterns where there aren't any. That's all it was. Still, I moved faster. The chamber led to another squeeze, barely wide enough for my tank. I wriggled through, silt exploding in a cloud around me. That's when I heard it. A knock, 3 sharp knocks against stone. I froze. My heartbeat roared in my ears. I clicked my light off. Waited. At first, silence. Then another knock. Closer this time. I turned the light back on, swinging it in every direction. Nothing. Just stone and water and darkness stretching forever. I should have turned back. God, I should have. But I kept going. After another 30 minutes, I found him, Ethan. He was floating just beyond a narrow restriction, wedged against the rock, eyes wide open behind a cracked mask. His face was pale, lips blue, hair drifting in the current. His hands clutched something against his chest. I reached for him, grabbing his harness, pulling him closer. That's when I realized he wasn't dead. His eyes moved, just a flicker darting toward mine. His lips parted, bubbles escaping. He was alive. I nearly dropped my regulator. How the hell had he survived 3 days down here without food, without air? I pulled him toward me, signaling for him to hold on. He shook his head violently, bubbles streaming. His hand shot up, pressing something into my palm. It was a notebook, soaked and falling apart, pages smeared with ink. Before I could react, he shoved me backward with surprising force, his eyes wide with terror. Then, he kicked hard, vanishing into the restriction deeper into the cave. I shouted through my regulator, voice bubbling uselessly. Why the hell was he running from me? I clipped the notebook to my harness and went after him. That was my mistake. The restriction was tighter than I thought. My tank scraped stone, silt exploding into a black cloud. My light caught glimpses of Ethan ahead, his pale limbs jerking unnaturally, like a puppet yanked by invisible strings, and then he was gone. 1 second there. The next swallowed by darkness. I pushed through, lungs burning, chest heaving, until I burst into another chamber. This one was different. Perfectly smooth walls, symmetrical, too symmetrical. Like a hallway, but underground. At the far end was a pool. Still, black. And carved into the wall above it, another name, mine again, this time deeper, fresher. I don't remember deciding to leave. One moment I was staring at it. The next I was clawing back through the restriction, scraping skin from my arms, heart hammering like it would explode. I didn't stop until I saw daylight. When I stumbled out, covered in mud, the sheriff's truck was gone. So was Ethan's girlfriend. My own truck sat alone, dew covering the windshield like it had been there for days. I collapsed against it, ripping my mask off, gasping, and that's when I noticed the notebook. I opened it with shaking hands. Most of the pages were ruined, but a few words were legible. Over and over, scrawled in frantic handwriting, "The cave knows. The cave remembers. The cave writes you before you arrive." The last page was clearer. A single line underlined until the paper tore. "If you see your name, it's already too late." I burned the notebook that night. But the damage was done because now everywhere I go, I see it. On walls, carved into desks, scrawled into bathroom stalls, etched into frost on windows. My name. Always my name. And sometimes, just beneath it, a second one. Ethan's, which means he's still down there. Or worse, he's not. I've thought about going back, about diving one last time to put an end to it. But deep down I know the truth. The cave doesn't want bodies. It wants names, and it already has mine. People always ask why I quit geology right before finishing my thesis. I used to say it was money, or that academia just wasn't for me. But the truth is, I can't even look at a cave on TV without breaking into a cold sweat. Because the last cave I entered wasn't just a cave. It was something else. Something that doesn't fit into geology or archaeology or anything human at all. It happened 3 years ago in Romania. I was there on a study grant, working with a professor who specialized in karst formations. My project was supposed to be simple. Document a series of little-known caves near the Apuseni Mountains, take rock samples, and maybe get a publishable paper out of it. Most of the caves I visited were harmless. Tight squeezes, dripping limestone, the usual bats and spiders. But then one of the locals, an old shepherd, pulled me aside at a tavern. He'd overheard me asking about cave systems, and he said, "There's one you should not enter. The mountain keeps it hidden. It is not for us." I thought he was just being superstitious, until he drew me a crude map on a napkin. The next morning I followed it. The path wound through dense forest, barely more than deer trails, until I came to a slope of jagged limestone cliffs. I almost missed the entrance. It wasn't much more than a slit in the rock, half covered by vines. I had to crawl on my belly to get inside. My backpack scraped the stone as I wriggled forward, light from my headlamp bouncing off damp walls. And then the passage opened. The chamber I emerged into was wrong, not geologically wrong. Wrong in a way my body felt before my mind did. The walls were smooth, too smooth, perfectly arched, curving like a tunnel designed by human hands. Except they weren't. I could tell by the texture that this wasn't worked stone. It was natural, but nature doesn't make geometry like that. I told myself I'd stumbled into an unusual flowstone formation. Something rare, something worth writing about. I pressed deeper. The tunnels branched in patterns that felt deliberate. Every 100 feet or so, I'd find the same spiral-like markings etched faintly into the walls. At first, I thought they were fossils, but the more I looked, the less they resembled anything organic. And then I saw the first one, a figure, petrified into the wall. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, a stalagmite shaped vaguely like a person. But when I brushed away the thin layer of calcite, I saw teeth, real teeth. A face twisted in a scream, hands reaching out, fingers fused into stone. It wasn't a stalagmite. It was a body. I stumbled back, headlamp swinging wildly. My beam caught more shapes. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds, men, women, children. All frozen in stone. Their mouths open, eyes wide, as if they'd been swallowed mid-scream. I backed into the wall, my chest heaving until I realized what I was leaning against. Another one. A man fused into the rock, his jaw dislocated, eyes bulging. I bolted down the tunnel, not caring which direction I went, scraping my knees and elbows raw as I crawled through tight squeezes. That's when I heard it. A low hum. At first it was faint, like distant machinery, but the deeper I went, the louder it grew. It vibrated through my bones, rattled my teeth. I turned a corner and found myself in another chamber. This one was perfectly circular, walls polished smooth. In the center was a pool of black water, so still it looked like glass. My light didn't penetrate its surface, but the reflection wasn't mine. When I leaned over, what looked back wasn't me at all, it was a face. Pale eyeless, grinning too wide. Its skin shimmered as if wet, and when it moved, the reflection rippled though the pool remained still. I stumbled back, nearly dropping my lamp. The hum grew deafening, pounding in my skull, and then the pool rippled. Something began to rise. I didn't stay to see what. I turned and ran, slamming my shoulder into the stone, scrambling blindly through passage after passage. My lamp flickered, dying, leaving me in near darkness. That's when I heard footsteps behind me. Not echoes, footsteps. Slow, deliberate. I crawled faster, lungs screaming until I spotted a faint glow ahead. Daylight. I burst from the slit in the cliffside, tumbling into the forest, gasping like a drowning man. When I looked back, the entrance was gone, just a blank wall of stone. I never found it again. I tried. For months I went back, retraced every step. Nothing. But sometimes at night, when my apartment is quiet, I hear that hum again. Faint beneath the floorboards, And in mirrors, I catch glimpses, not of me, of that other face, the pale one, the grinning one, waiting,